Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs. But luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku, and it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
This is the Roger Stone Show, presented by Colonial Metals Group.
A man who's gone through hell, but he's kept going, and he's smart, and he's strong, and people love him. Not everybody, but people love him and respect him. Roger Stone.
Now, here's Roger Stone.
And we're back. I'm Roger Stone, fighting a touch of laryngitis, but still here on the ramparts. Joining me now is Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer. He is a distinguished intelligence officer, author, and national security expert with over 35 years of experience in global and national security. As president of the London Center for Policy Research, he advises senior officials across the White House, intelligence community, Pentagon, and the Congress. He is a recipient of the Bronze Star Medal. He has a notable military career, which includes task force leadership at Stratus Ivy, focusing on advancing technology and information operations. He has a best-selling memoir, which I commend to you. It's Operation Dark Heart, which offers an insider's perspective on intelligence operations in Afghanistan. In 2020, Colonel Shaffer served as the National Security Advisor for President Donald Trump's re-election campaign, and he contributes his extensive experience to the administration's security strategies even today, and you can see him on the media. He is a most articulate spokesman for our country. Colonel Shaffer, welcome to the Roger Stone Show.
Roger, I always find our conversations enlightening and fun, so thanks for having me. I appreciate joining you today.
So let me get your take on Signalgate, as we now call it. This, to me, seems like just another effort to get a scalp. The same people who had no problem with Hillary Clinton's use of an illegal server utilizing classified information, the same people who had no objection to Biden's State Department official Rob Malley leaking classified documents to the Iranians, now they are raising holy hell about this. Your view?
Yeah. So, yeah, I'd like to take a step back and review some of the things you just mentioned. For example, the Hillary Clinton server. We know, Roger, and I got this directly from the Defense Intelligence Agency, IG, that they had proved through researching the metadata of her email that a carbon copy, every time an email was sent to and from Hillary Clinton's illegal unclassified server, it was going to a place called Carter Heavy Equipment. Now, you might ask yourself, why would Carter Heavy Equipment, a technology, a production company of construction of vehicles, get that? Well, it turned out it was a Chinese intelligence cover. It was a front. And so, literally in real time, all but 5 emails of those thousands were read by the Chinese. And now we know by the fact that the same people I spoke to at the IG confirmed that there were sensitive information relating to real true name assets and operations. So that was literally ignored by the FBI. And I know from talking, again, firsthand, talking to the people involved, this isn't me reading about it, this is me talking to folks. They took that information to the FBI where it was promptly ignored. So we know, and this is something I do hope this administration goes back and takes a second look at, that Hillary Clinton compromised national security in ways we still can't fully understand. And then you fast forward to events in Afghanistan where Joe Biden decided, we're just going to leave and we're going to allow for Bagram, which we had never planned to give up, to fall into the hands of the Taliban, giving away our best asset in the region, and then having to do this backdoor, last-minute State Department-led disaster of a withdrawal from Kabul, where 13 Americans lost their lives. And, of course, no one got fired. So we're supposed to ignore those actions that either were never fully investigated or resulted in the tragic loss of American life for no reason. We're supposed to pretend that those don't mean anything, and yet somehow this signal thing does. And fast forwarding then to the signal thing, John Ratcliffe, the director of CIA, stated during testimony at least twice that the events we're discussing, the Signal Gate issue, happened between U.S. government officials on government phones with a government-issued version of Signal. So this is essentially a closed system. The only mystery that remains is how did Jeffrey Goldberg's number get on that system? That's something I think people are looking at. I know Elon Musk is looking at. That's kind of the only mystery. But the whole idea that somehow individuals with clearance talking about events in general, and again, there was no specification of targets. There was no specification of exact locations of those targets. Essentially, it was a last-minute update on events that were happening in real time. And I can tell you as a military planner, Roger, that does not equate to a quote-unquote war plan. As a matter of fact, it doesn't even equate to an operational execution order to go do something, because this was all being done in real time, notifying leadership of events just so they're prepared and understand what's going on. That's it. That's what happened. And so I find it appalling that the Democrats, who never said a single word about Hillary Clinton's email server, which compromised our national security, or the tragic events of the Afghan withdrawal, that somehow we're supposed to equate real-time information being shared about, amongst principals, that was somehow a loss of classified information. It wasn't, by all definition. So I just think it's dangerous that you have the Democrats so focused on trying to get rid of Pete Hegseth. And by the way, I think this is both sides. I think there's some folks on the Republican side who don't like Pete, because Pete has been very clear on supporting President Trump and his policies to the point of where Pete, and I know Pete personally, he's not a neocon. He's someone who believes in the Constitution. He's written about his beliefs, and he's going to be essentially unassailable. The big corporations who depend on Pentagon contracts can't get to him. The neocons who basically have universal influence can't get to him. And I think in many ways this is a setup to try to get Pete out, and I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with your assessment, both of him as a fine appointment. But the president, I think, is not going to be spooked here. He has made it very clear that he stands by his team. The left is looking for a scalp. Of that, there is no doubt. What significance do you think there is, if any, in the fact that Katherine Maher, the left-wing NPR CEO, is on the board of Signal?
Yeah. Well, conservatives, you're going to find that it actually has a degree in environmental studies, Wright State University, 86. And I find, Roger, as a degreed expert, the complete fiction they put out regarding science, or their so-called, environmental science, is appalling. It's false. It's as a matter of fact, it's dangerously false. It creates a false narrative, thinking somehow we're going to lose the planet in 10 years. It's not going to happen. And just for record, we haven't been in existence as a society for long enough to understand one cycle of climate. One cycle of climate is between 10 and 11,000 years. So just as a personal note, that is something they constantly preach, that, throwing money at this non-existent problem is something. So you just take that then and put her into the middle of other things. Her philosophy, her politics follow her. And I think it was abundantly clear during the hearings this past week, even Bill Maher, for goodness sake, who is not a conservative, said that her views are too extreme. So when you got an extreme left guy saying that another person's views are too extreme, I take him at their word. So I do wonder, and I think it's something worth looking at. And I think Elon Musk, when he starts doing his review of the circumstance going into the data, we'll be able to kind of find out who talked to who when and who was added. There's always a trail, Roger, that is deep in the data. We have known this since the late 1990s. You mentioned Stratus Ivy, my task force. We were doing this sort of review of data, looking at data mining, things like that, long before anybody even knew it existed or as an issue. So I think it's something that Elon Musk should and I think will look at. And yeah, I don't think anyone should be surprised if we come to find that she was somehow involved in the shenanigans based on who she is and what she's doing. And yeah, the last place you'd want her is on the board of Signal.
Amen to that. When we come back, I'm going to ask Colonel Tony Shaffer to try to assess the situation in Ukraine. I see Vladimir Zelensky now saying statements like, Putin will soon die. I'm not sure what that's all about. Whatever you do, folks, we'll be right back with Colonel Tony Shaffer, who will give us his unique perspective as President Trump struggles to bring the war between Ukraine and Russia to a conclusion. I look forward to his expert opinion on the other side. Whatever you do, folks, don't touch that dial because we'll be right back.
This is The Roger Stone Show.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
How does PwC take your company to the leading edge? They bring the sharpest minds in tech to your team, so you can bring the ideas that will transform your business. They're passionate about your industry, so you can walk into any room with every advantage. And they're with you every step of the way, so you can know you're headed in the right direction. PwC builds for what's next, so you can get there now. Get started at pwc.com/us/leading edge.
This episode is brought to you by GMC. GMC certified service technicians are factory trained to fit your vehicle with the tires specifically developed for it. And with our tire price match guarantee, you get the best fit for the best deal. Let us do the work. Available on select eligible tire brands at participating dealers only. Offer ends 12/31/2025. Terms apply. See dealer for complete details. Visit gmc.com/service to learn more.
This episode is brought to you by MeUndies. Underwear drawers are like the Wild West. You never know what you're going to pull out or what shape it's in. So upgrade your collection with the buttery soft comfort of MeUndies. MeUndies' signature fabric is as soft as a warm hug from your favorite sweater. Plus, it's breathable and oh so comfy, making it ideal for all-day wear. Get 20% off your first order, plus free shipping at MeUndies.com/Spotify with code Spotify. That's MeUndies.com/Spotify, code Spotify.
Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush, and Donald Trump.
They went after a guy named Roger Stone, who's sitting in the office. And I'll say this in front of Roger, he's no baby. And right now, he's cleaner than anybody in this place. No, they treated him very unfairly.
All of these presidents relied on one man to secure their seat in the Oval Office. That man is Roger Stone.
Roger Stone.
This is The Roger Stone Show, presented by Colonial Metals Group. Now, here's Roger Stone.
And we're back. This is The Roger Stone Show on the Red Apple Audio Network. We're talking to Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer. He's a distinguished intelligence officer, author, and national security expert with over 35 years of experience in global and national security, also a recipient of the Bronze Star Medal. His best-selling memoir, Operation Dark Heart, tells you the insider's perspective on intelligence operations in Afghanistan. I commend it to you. Colonel Shaffer, I'm trying to figure out what's going on in the president's efforts to end the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. every time it seems to me like he has one side put together, the other side seems to fall apart. The president's a master negotiator, but he knows it takes two to tango. What's going on here?
So it's a bit complicated by the fact that the agreed upon and stated policy is to end the war. That's what we're going to do. You have the Europeans, that includes the French, British, and everyone over there, going in the opposite direction, using bellicose language, having war conferences. They've gone from calling, they wanted to put NATO troops in as peacekeepers in Ukraine. Of course, that was instantly vetoed. So they've gone from calling it peacekeepers to an assurance force. So I guess that's like an emotional support animal that sits in the back and gives back rubs or something. Who knows? Anyway, my point I'm trying to get to is that because of the complexities, the president has cut everybody out except the Russians. We are now bilaterally, which is going back to the old Cold War, to Ronald Reagan, we negotiating directly with the Russians. I think this is a necessary step. Now, let's frame this in a way that you're not going to hear from the mainstream media. First, right now, as we speak, there are 8 meeting engagements, military terms for ground conflict, ground war in Ukraine through the 4 oblasts and Kursk. The Russians are winning on all 8 fronts. It is what it is. It's nothing to do with us. And I think Ukraine knows that. Ukraine is desperate to do something to stop it. And at this point, if something doesn't happen in about 2 months, Russia is going to win this flat out. I think Putin, I'm not pro-Putin, but I think Putin is in a position to win this if he so chooses right now. President Trump knows that. So he's trying to negotiate, that is Trump, from the position of trying to benefit everybody, to include the Ukrainians. And that's why he's proposed this mineral deal that if we go in there as investors, as partners, the Russians aren't going to mess with us. We don't have to put 2 troops on the ground to ensure Ukraine's future stability. But Zelensky doesn't seem to understand this advanced concept. Apparently, his degree ended somewhere between clown school and how to wear high heels when he was being trained, just saying. So the engagement actually has netted some very positive threads that I think we should weave into the settlement. First off, after the first official phone call between Vladimir Putin and President Trump, there was an agreement that the Russians, would help us with Iran. Huge issue. Most importantly, the Russians have said they would be mediators. The Iranians responded formally within the last 24 hours to President Trump's letter to them saying you need to negotiate. While the Iranians said they wouldn't negotiate with us, they did say we negotiate for a third party. So that's progress. So the big thing, Roger, is that the president is not simply focused on Ukraine. He's looking at how can we re-engage the Russians across the board and do so to actually work with them on some issues of mutual interest. And the big thing to me is, and you were an advisor to President Nixon. Nixon played the China card against Russia during the Cold War. Well, President Trump's trying to play the Russia card against China to break them apart, because that's a key thing. Whenever China looks at Russia, they see food. They see something they're going to consume, and the Russians know this. So I think President Trump is going to be willing and able to actually use some very excellent diplomacy, some realpolitik, and start pushing back on some of the left in our country and some of the folks in Europe and other places who don't understand that this is not about Ukraine. It's about everything regarding the direction of the global hegemon. Russia recognizes China becoming the global hegemon is not a good idea. The Chinese have stated unambiguously their intention is to first dominate the Pacific Rim and then the globe. I think President Trump recognizes that. I think Putin recognizes that. And I think there are many more things we can do with the Russians that will benefit the West. Russia has immense natural resources. They actually do want to engage with the Europeans in commerce. Commerce is the language of peace. President Trump is trying to encourage those who are willing to speak that language to become involved with us and move forward to seek that peace. So will we resolve Ukraine? Ukraine will be resolved one way or another by summer. Either they're going to actually accept the terms we're negotiating on their behalf, or if they decide they want to go with the Europeans, who are unreliable partners, I think the Russians are going to win the war outright. And that's something that, that'll be a choice that the Ukrainians make ultimately.
Yeah, one of the great failures, I think, of Biden's foreign policy was driving the Russians and the Chinese together. They are, they have a long common border and centuries of distrust. The fact that they are both communists or at least authoritarian, we should not assume that they are natural allies. They are actually natural adversaries. Nixon played this brilliantly. Trump is attempting to do the exact same thing. We should be, I'm not pro-Putin either, although people will say we both are because we want to end the war. But look, I had members of my own family mowed down by Russian tanks in Budapest in 1956. Yep. I'm not a fan of Putin. He's a thug.
Nor am I.
But why does Zelensky continue to keep saying that Putin will die soon? He seems to be implying that there's going to be an attempt to assassinate him. We've got about 2 minutes left.
Yeah, so, Roger, I think that's the thing. I think that's an aspiration. You and I speak a very similar language of like how things work in the real world. And the real world is the Ukrainians have involved themselves in conducting what they call special operations, what we would consider assassination plots against the Russian leadership. They've actually killed at least 2 Russian generals within Russia proper. They've gone after leadership targets before. I think this is Tony Shaffer speaking. I haven't spoken to anybody about this. I think this is all about Zelensky and his alternate universe believing somehow that some plot they have either put together or are putting together will resolve the war in their favor by simply eliminating Putin. And let me say this, and I hope someone from Ukraine is listening. You don't understand. You remove Putin, you're probably going to get someone who's an order of magnitude more aggressive than Putin. So what they think they're wishing for would get them something the opposite of what I think they want. So I'll just leave it at that. But I think that they desire that, Roger. I don't think they understand what they're asking for or what the outcome would be if they're successful in doing that.
Telegraphing your punches, you have to assume that Putin has hardliners that he has to deal with internally.
Absolutely.
And my guess is you're absolutely right. What the Ukrainians would get would be far worse than what they have today. All right, we have to wrap it up there. I want to thank my guest, Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer. I want to thank my audience also for helping me soldier through with a touch of laryngitis here. So much breaking news on the JFK assassination document releases. I've worn myself out. I want to thank you for joining us today on The Roger Stone Show. Until we meet again, God bless you and Godspeed.